Now, the clear headline feature of the Crane M2S gimbal is the fact that it can handle everything from a smartphone all the way up to a full-frame mirrorless camera. In addition to that, this gimbal only weighs 1.2 pounds or 550 grams. In my research, that makes this the smallest and lightest gimbal you can buy that will handle a full-frame mirrorless camera. And in full disclosure, Zhiyun did send this gimbal out for the purpose of this review, but all the opinions are my own and they had no say in the making of this video. And it's pretty clear this gimbal was developed by Zhiyun as a response to the way people were actually using their original Crane M2. And what you found as soon as that came out and they said it's for small APS-C mirrorless cameras, but you can also use it with your smartphone or action cameras, the first thing that came up on the internet was people putting full-frame mirrorless cameras on that thing and trying to make it work. And for the most part, they kind of did and kind of didn't. But in the end, the motors on the original Crane M2 weren't strong enough to actually make that thing respond and perform the way you would really want to when using a full-frame mirrorless camera. So the biggest thing that Zhiyun did with this gimbal is they just upgraded the motors and made it so it can work with those cameras that people were trying to make the previous model work with. And in addition to the bigger payload, they have put a bigger battery in. It has longer battery life. It can be charged faster than the previous model. You can charge the gimbal while you're using the gimbal. The gimbal can charge your camera while you're using the gimbal and the camera. The battery technology hasn't got a lot of hype yet, but I think that's something that is actually quite significant about this new model. And of course, the feature that you can't miss because it's right on the front of it is the light. This is a fill light used for vlogging or low light conditions where you just don't have enough brightness on a subject that you've got reasonably close to you. You can just like sort of flip that thing on and now you just have a little fill light. It is adjustable up and down as far as how bright or how dark you want it, and it just fills in. It just makes things look a little bit better. It's kind of amazing that they fit that in on this tiny little gimbal. And I will put my best price links in the description down below, so you will be able to click through and check the current prices from a number of the top suppliers to make sure that you are getting the best price on this gimbal sort of whenever you're looking to buy. Now, even though this is a tiny little 1.2 pound gimbal, it still has all the pro level gimbal features. So it has all the standard modes that you're used to seeing into the high-end cinema gimbals nowadays. You've got your pan follow, you've got your lock mode, you've got your vortex mode, you've got your point of view mode, and you've got your portrait mode. Now, in addition to those standard modes, this gimbal has kind of a secret mode that if you didn't know it was there, you probably wouldn't access it, and it is called Go mode. And we've seen this in a number of Zhiyun's new gimbals, and basically it is a super fast sort of sports type mode. And to access that, all you're gonna do is you are gonna push down the trigger and hold it, and the gimbal is going to just automatically switch into this Go mode. And Go mode is a full follow mode with a super fast response time. So if you are trying to follow something and you were lagging behind with whatever you were doing before, or you needed to sort of move into a mode where you had all the range of motion to sort of follow, this is your Go mode. And once again, it's like it's like follow mode on turbo. And when you want to turn it back into the previous mode that you're in, you just sort of let go of the trigger. Now it's just going to automatically go back into pan follow mode, and you can see we're back into pan follow mode, and you can see that is much slower. Even when I go quick, you can see the delay in trying to keep the footage really smooth with pan follow mode. But if I hold down the trigger, now we're back in Go mode, and you can see it just responds very, very quickly, less of a dead zone, and you're also in sort of like a more full follow mode. So you won't miss any of the action because you've got that easy access to this Go mode. I really like the name of that, Go mode. Now, one of the other things I love about this gimbal is that all the axes have locks on them. And that means you don't have the situation when you are trying to manage the gimbal or move around with the gimbal, it's just flipping and flopping all over the place. So I've got all the locks on, and as you can see, I will often carry the gimbal a bit like this if I'm just walking around like that. And then if I want to sort of turn it back on and just start using it again, all I've got to do is go through and unlock all those axes. And so now I just have to turn it on and I'm sort of ready to go. The other thing that it does when you have the ability to lock the different axes is it makes it easier to balance the gimbal because you can leave the other axes locked while you are balancing each axis. So right now, the first time you balance the gimbal, the first axis you're going to balance is this one. And as you can see, it's perfectly balanced right now. But since these other two are locked, I don't have to sort of mess with this. I can just check that. Okay, I'm happy. That is well balanced. Then I can actually unlock this axis, and now I can start dealing with this axis. Once I've got that axis unlocked, I can unlock this axis, and I can start dealing with that axis. That allows me to just deal with them one at a time. Otherwise, what you're doing is the thing is flipping and flopping around all over this place, and you're trying to balance this axis while this axis is out and this axis is out. So it just allows you to methodically go through and balance the gimbal, which I honestly would not buy a gimbal nowadays if it didn't have the ability to lock all axes like this. Now, the controls on this gimbal are super easy, super intuitive, and easy to use. With the trigger, I've already showed you how you get into go mode. You hold down the trigger, that puts you into go mode. It's got two other things the trigger does. One, it can recenter the gimbal. So say that we've gone down like this and we want to go back to our default position. We just click 1, 2, and that recenters the gimbal, just takes it back to the default position. The other thing is, since this is a gimbal that you are going to vlog with, well, potentially a lot. It is actually designed to be a very vlogging friendly gimbal because of how light it is. If I just tap 1, 2, 3, that is going to turn around and now I'm in vlogging mode. Now, the nice thing about this is instead of doing what you would traditionally do on a gimbal that didn't have this sort of automatic vlog thing, is you would either have to take the joystick and turn the whole thing around and get it centered, which you might miss like I just did. Or the other thing you'd have to do is you would have to, I'll recenter that. The other thing that you might have to do is you turn the whole thing around and point it at you, which is fine, except for now your display telling you what's going on in the gimbal is behind you. So by having it like this, I'm pointing it, someone's talking to me, 1, 2, 3, turns around, gimbal's pointing at me, I tell my side of the story, 1, 2, 3, and it goes back into the default position. Now on the side here, you're gonna have this little red button or little red slider button. You're gonna push that up. That is actually gonna turn your fill light on, and you're gonna be able to adjust the brightness of that fill light up and down with that same little slider. And to turn it off, you push it back down, hold it, and that turns it off. Now on the back of the gimbal, you've got your joystick. This controls which way the actual camera on the gimbal is aiming, so you can use that to sort of change the direction and which way the gimbal or the camera is looking. But when you're in the menu mode, you hit the menu here, and this is actually going to be the way that you navigate your menus. Now we've got the little record button here, so most cameras out there will actually work with this gimbal, so you can hook in either a USB-C or micro USB cable to the actual camera and into the back of the gimbal. And when you've got that set up with a compatible camera, you're going to be able to hit this record button, and it's just going to start the camera recording, and you can hit record again. That is going to stop it recording. You've got your M mode or your mode button here. You click that. A single click with that is going to take you through pan follow, follow, and lock mode, and double tapping is going to take you to vortex mode and point of view mode. Now coming on to the other side of the gimbal here, we've got our menu that takes us in and out of our menu, and then we have our on-off slider. Now, very important thing on the ergonomics of using this gimbal, it is really designed to be held at sort of like a 30 or 45 degree angle, where your palm is down here, your fingers are here, and then your trigger finger comes up and rests on the trigger. If you are going to hold it in this position, it's likely that your hands are going to slip up and mess with the joystick, and that is going to mess with which way your camera is aiming. That's okay. If you're having a problem with that, or you find that you have to sort of hold it actually higher on the gimbal, it's more comfortable for you to do that, just double tap the menu button, and that is going to lock out that joystick. So no matter what you do, it's not going to respond to the joystick movement. And then to turn it back off, you just double tap your menu button, and now you've got control of your joystick again. But really, I find that this works best when you are holding it like this at sort of this angle. The other thing that it does do when you're holding it at this angle, it does bring this arm up here into that position, and as far as leveling your horizon, that is the strongest position for the gimbal to be in, because it is sort of parallel to the horizon, and that is going to probably give you the most balanced footage compared to having it sort of down like that. So it's really designed for the gimbal to be used like this in sort of a semi-flashlight type mode. Now the Crane M2S is also going to be compatible with Zhiyun's ZY Play app, which gives you a whole bunch of functions. It allows you to configure the gimbal. There's a lot of smart features in that app, and then the way that that it connects and makes use of the gimbal. But right now, because it is prior to the release date, they have not added the M2S to the app yet, which means I'm not actually able to test it and show you exactly how that works. But I have used that app with a number of their other gimbals, and it is a very, very powerful app, and it is nice that it's included and it works with sort of the really budget-friendly M2S. Now, the Crane M2S is going to be available in two different kits. The standard kit is what you're seeing here. It includes the gimbal, the base plate that your camera goes on. It includes 2 camera control cables for different types of cameras. It includes 4 different colored gels that you can put on your light at the front of your gimbal, and it includes a charging cable. Now, one level up from that is the combo pack, and what that is going to add is the phone holder, which, to be honest, the Zhiyun phone holder is, like, to me, a work of art. It's probably the best phone holder I've ever seen. It's like some sort of industrial clamp. It's pretty impressive, and I think bought on its own, it's like $60 or something like that. So the combo kit is going to include the phone holder, and it's also going to include this little carrying bag, which everything that comes in the kit fits in super nicely. So I think for the most part, if you are interested in getting the phone holder, you're probably just best to get the combo kit. If you don't plan on using it with a phone, then I would stick with the standard kit. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be asking, should I buy the Crane M2S or should I be buying the Crane M3? And in my next video, I'm going to cover the differences between those two gimbals and who I think should buy each gimbal. And once that video is ready, there will be a link in the description down below. If you're interested in getting the best in photo and video with the gear that you can afford or the gear that you already have, that's what I do on this channel. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit that bell notification.